In today's iCave Dave, iPhone SE 4, the latest leaks, it is a revolution. Apple Pencil's shelf life. The EU's new replaceable battery rules. Massive iPads, are they still coming? And the iPhone 16 Ultra. Yes, we're already talking about it. Hi, I'm iCave Dave and I simplify Apple so that everything just works for you, and if you want the latest Apple leaks, news and rumours, like the video, subscribe to the channel and ring the bell. So details have just dropped from Unknowns21, which is you Redditor on X, the dumpster fire formerly known as Twitter, about the potential iPhone SE 4th generation, which we'd heard about long in the past, and then it got shelved and is now apparently back off the shelf and back onto the cards. Unlike the previous rumours which had it pegged as an update to the iPhone XR body, which honestly this far on probably wouldn't have made too much sense given the current design direction, the report says that it will be based on the iPhone 14's design. That is a great start. It would be the first iPhone SE to gain FaceID and dump TouchID, bringing the design right up to date with everything post iPhone 10, and thank the good Lord Thor, it won't have the dumb TouchID power button that I so despise from the iPad models. Now, I'm really not a fan, it's the least favourite part of my otherwise much loved iPad Air. The device will apparently also get USB-C, which I guess at this point is something of a given. We've also heard recently that Apple is looking for pricing from suppliers on the OLED panels for this too. So with the SE model, I'm sure that Apple will be turning the screws on getting those component prices as low as humanly possible. It makes perfect sense for the iPhone 14 body style to use OLED. Other changes mentioned though from the current iPhone 14 model would be a single camera lens, down from the ultra wide and wide combo that we have on the current device, so any portrait modes on those cameras would have to be fully computational. And of course the action button. Apple seems to be going all in on replacing the current mute switch with this multi-purpose button, and while Unknowns21 mentioned that the action button was believed to be a Pro model exclusive, the idea that it would be coming to the new SE model suggests that the iPhone 15 and 15 Plus base models will also be most likely to get it as well. Now my take is it's going to be pretty central to the September event, that button. Are we going to have like a ready for action kind of vibe to the tagline? Who knows, that would be like a dead giveaway. Now we had seen some rumours that the iPhone 14 was actually going to be getting an update to potentially have USB-C, because in the Apple TV logs there was some kind of references that 95Mac had identified. I now am wondering if this might be what that was going to be. The SE potentially replacing the iPhone 14 but not arriving until a summer event, so maybe the Apple TV reference that we got was for this, and that actually the iPhone 14 may just hang around in its current lightning based form until then. Maybe that's when it gets replaced. Now, as I say, in terms of time frame, I think we'd have to assume that this is being planned for a launch next spring, which would make sense to start getting the components aligned now. So probably March or April when we'd normally get these kind of devices, and given the current economic climate, a decent, modern, but value-focused device could be exactly what Apple needs after the iPhone sales volumes dropped for the first time in a long while during the last reported quarter. In terms of the price though, I don't see this coming at the previous SE's price of $429 with 64 gigs of storage. I guess we'll be looking at 128 gigs as a starting point with a $499 price tag, which is $30 higher than the previous SE with the same level of storage. I would say though it is still a very good value, as it'll almost certainly get an A16 inside, which will be the same as the 15 base models. It will gain OLED, it will gain the full screen design, which is much bigger. It gets Face ID and it gets that much fresher look versus a chassis that had barely changed since the iPhone 6 in 2014. Of course, the previous SE had got wireless charging, but this new SE will almost certainly add MagSafe to that, and that's another bonus too. This thing will be absolutely killer for businesses, the perfect work phone for sales teams and anyone that works out in the field. They don't need to have a bunch of cameras or all the bells and whistles, but a lower cost phone that's capable, has decent battery, and all of the other modern tech that doesn't look 10 years out of date would be a really good benefit. It's also the perfect starter phone when your kids get old enough to need their own phone versus giving you a hand-me-down that has kind of been the standard in the past. Maybe, just maybe, Apple could actually use this as well to test their own wireless modems instead of buying them from third parties. We know that they bought Intel's modem business years ago and have been working on this, and we thought it was going to go into iPads, but I think this might be a decent candidate. Let me know, would you spring for this? Did you see what I did? Because it's probably coming in the spring. I'll see myself out. And let's get into your questions from the comments, iCave answers. The first one comes from Team Kinetics. iCave answers, how long should an Apple Pencil last? I picked up a second gen in June of 2022 and now can't connect it and it can't be found by the iPad. Seems like a dead battery. It's only 2 years old and out of warranty. Is that to be expected? No, absolutely not. Mine I've had since 2020. Still get like 98% charge on it. I think that's basically what the battery health is like at this point. So it seems like you've got a faulty one. I would still go and see the Apple store. I would speak to someone on chat. Even if it's technically out of warranty, they might well just look after you on this. Otherwise, I mean, that does seem a little bit short. And I'm sure in the UK, there's something about like manufacturing defects within 6 years. So I would definitely go and ask them at the Apple store and do a bit of research on that first, because that ain't right. James Apple asks, will Apple have a response to the EU with replaceable batteries? I honestly feel like USB-C was eventually going to boomerang to this year, based on what Phil Schiller said about the Lightning cable being around for a decade. So the replaceable batteries thing, I think that's a few years out with the EU anyway at this point, because they've only just sort of introduced this idea of the legislation. I don't think Apple is actually that far off from being able to easily replace batteries. Of course, there are issues. It doesn't mean it has to have a slot on the back. It doesn't mean it has to be like the old kind of flip phones and the old Nokias, where you slipped off a back cover, pop the battery out, pop a new one in, and carried on with your day. That's not what this is about. This is about when batteries actually expire, being able to replace them without specialist tools. And Apple, I think, pretty much, other than using, I think, pentalobe screws still in the bottom of the iPhones, and obviously you need to use kind of a press to open the thing at the minute because they're water resistant. That's where I think the EU is going to run into some issues, because what they're doing is making phones less durable with this legislation, and I think before it actually comes in, that's going to be updated. So yes, you might need to use regular tools. Bear in mind that this is going to make the phone itself have less lifespan to it, because once you open it up, you replace the battery, it ain't going to seal the way that it does against water and dust and other stuff like that. I think Apple have actually responded and said, yeah, we're not doing drastic changes because we don't feel like we need to. Pokemon Scarlet 18, which is Black Greninja, asks, iCave answers, I am still waiting for a 16 to 17 inch iPad Ultra. Please let us know when it will arrive. I don't think it will. I'm sorry. I know I was wrong on the MacBook Airs. I didn't think that they needed to get a bigger design, but they got one. They got the 15 inch. But I also feel like a lot of people, now they've got the 15 inch, have said, this is great, but it's also not as portable as I liked. And bear in mind that you have got a lot less thickness with an iPad. That thing is going to torsion, it's going to twist. I think 12.9 inches is about as big as iPads are going to go. There were rumours that there was potentially a 14 inch in the works, which, I mean, maybe. I think 16 to 17 inches is just absolutely bonkers for an iPad, unless they did like an iPad Desk Edition, which was like a touchscreen desk-mounted tablet, but it's not something you're going to sling in your bag. I don't think iPad Ultra is a thing. Don't think it's coming. And Pokemon Scarlet 18 asks, iCave answers, can we talk about the iPhone 16 Ultra rumours? I'm more excited for the rumoured larger display. Will Apple increase the base storage? How much do you think it'll cost? And will the battery life double? I wouldn't mind if the phone got thicker. So, as I've said in other videos last week, I think that the Ultra name is actually going to come to the 15 Pro Max. I think it's going to be called the Ultra if they're going to increase that pricing as much as we've heard, potentially an extra $200, so up to $12.99. I do think the storage is going to go up to 256 as the base for that and for the regular Pro. But I don't think the screen size is set to increase next year. I think it's this year that we're getting the extra 0.1 of an inch because, yeah, basically they're slimming down the bezels. I don't think the device is going to get bigger. I don't think we're going to get bigger batteries. They have changed the battery technology for this year, so it's going to be stacked batteries, which we've heard is going to give us sort of an extra 15 to 20% potentially in battery life. Also, you're going to the smaller nanometer chips this year, so you're going to get the 3 nanometer chips, which are more efficient, plus a larger kind of capacity battery. I think that's pretty much as we need to give it better battery life. Double battery life is never going to happen in a phone because it will be far too heavy, it'll take far too long to charge, and yeah, it just doesn't really make any sense. I don't think anyone's crying out for double the battery life in a phone, but let me know why I'm wrong down in the comments. Use hashtag iCaveAnswers for any questions that you've got, and thank you to the Patreons. Love you all, and we've got more content coming this week, including, finally, when I unbox this thing. Want the latest Apple news, leaks and rumours? Subscribe and ring the bell.